Ratcheted up a bit since we talked to you a couple of years ago.
That's right.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And I think you and I have been talking off camera, and I think it's really important to start with the Iron Mountain report, because we're looking at ways in which the human population is being absolutely decimated in terms of our health from every front and angle. Forget what's happening even economically and otherwise, and the fear that's being created. Our health is dying. We're, as a species, living in fear and running ragged. So you say that a lot of this dates back to this report, the Iron Mountain report in the 1970s.
Right. This is the book, Report from Iron Mountain on the Possibility and Desirability of Peace. You hear a lot about peace now and the disarmament and how they want to make sure that countries are disarmed, and they want to disarm the citizens because we're going to have peace. Well, for thousands of years, rulers have kept their subjects under control by putting fear into their heart. And it's been done in America from the beginning. There's always going to be a war, or there's some kind of virus coming from someplace else. And so therefore, everybody is afraid, and they will do what the government wants them to do or give up their rights. Well, the Illuminati and the people who are ruling this planet decided that they had to get together, and when they are able to successfully disarm all nations, then they're going to have peace. Well, how do you keep the subjects under control? How do you keep the people down on the farm when you don't have this threat?
Yeah, when peace breaks out.
Right, when peace breaks out, when you don't have an invading army. So they got together, and they, one of the qualifications, and I will say that I think this is available on the internet. You can get this on the internet.
Report from Iron Mountain.
Report from Iron Mountain.
Okay.
And so they came together, and one critical factor that each one had to have was that they had to have no conscience. That's a frightening thing. You have to.
And that says that in that book.
Yes. You have no
That's part
conscience.
of the criteria.
You have no conscience. In other words, you cannot consider the suffering of people. You cannot consider maiming and killing people. That cannot bother you in order to be a member of this committee and make the decisions that have to be made. All right? Well, Bertrand Russell said that a long time ago in his book, where he said that a virus should go around the world at least once every 10 years to kill enough people so that people could procreate. And he said we should have them die a horrible death. And he said that shouldn't bother anybody, especially those of us who are not going to be affected by this, you see.
So they had to have a backup plan then, because the disarmament, it appears, on many levels, is beginning to happen.
That's correct.
They're attempting it.
So they had to say, what are we going to have to frighten the people? What is going to be the common enemy that we can keep putting before the people? And they came up with environmentalism, that the people are destroying the planet. And so we have to decrease the population in order to save the planet. Now, Al Gore is all involved in this, and Al Gore is part of the Illuminati. His father was a business partner of Arm & Hammer, who was a communist and the liaison between the U.S. and Russia, but was really an infiltrator and was part of the bad guys. So they decided that they have to start scaring the people. And you're seeing now ads on television about globalism, how we have to protect the planet. And I'm not against protecting the planet, but they want people to start committing suicide. They've started talking about a carbon tax. Well, the carbon tax for emissions, supposedly. But you have to realize that when you breathe in oxygen, and guess what you breathe out? Carbon dioxide. Well, that's the way God created the earth, because the plants then use the carbon dioxide and they put oxygen back into the atmosphere. But these people who want us dead don't want to consider that. They want to tell you that you can breathe for so long, and then when you've used up all the time that you have and you're putting out too much carbon, that you should somehow self-destruct or commit suicide or something like that.
Or you can be helped along.
Can be helped along. But they are training children in the school to think this way. That's one reason that the suicide rate is going up so rapidly in teenagers. They are being trained, they are being asked to write essays on how they would kill themselves. They are asked to write essays on how they're destroying the environment. Yes. Because you're doing the planet a favor by killing yourself. That's what they're breeding into your mind with these young people. And so, anyway, they decided on environmentalism as being the great bogeyman to scare people, and so therefore we've got to have a decrease in the amount of food that people are going to have to eat, and it's not bad when whole populations are being wiped out because that's saving the earth, and the animals are just as important as humans, and they have just as much right to live here, and they're not fouling the earth as humans are. Well, the people who are really fouling the earth are these same Illuminati people who are, have all these production companies that are belching smoke and fumes and everything else into the air. They're the ones. But you will notice they never want to start with depopulation by killing themselves.
No.
Okay? I have always suggested, well, if Al Gore thinks that there are too many people on the earth, then maybe Al Gore should be first to go. Mm-hmm. But never, Kissinger and Al Gore and Bill Clinton and Hillary, they never consider themselves as first to go because they consider themselves special. And the rest of us they call useless eaters or the disgusting public.
Now this came... We were talking about this, and I've heard this before. I think George Green mentioned it in an interview, but didn't source it. But you actually have the source of that information.
For the useless eaters, that was given by Bertrand Russell in his book, which I have, I have the name of it on the tip of my tongue, which has, by the way, been taken out of all libraries now.
Okay.
Because I had a hard time finding it, and I would not quote it until I was able to find a copy of the book. But it's being taken out of all the major libraries. And then the book about the disgusting public, they call us the disgusting public, is in this book, Top Secret Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, which is a CIA training manual. And you can find this on the website
World
as well.
War III declared top secret, silent weapons for quiet wars.
Right.
Okay.
And it shows how the population is being programmed, and it shows the formulas they are using, and they have found that it's just as easy to program a public around the world as it is to program a computer or to program a machine or to program a production line. They can program it with the same things. And one reason they do so many surveys to try to find out what people are thinking is it's all part of the programming. They do something, and then they do a survey to see how people are reacting to it. Mm-hmm. Some of the things that they do, some of the outrageous things they do, are just part of this plan to try to see how they can program the public.
Right.
See? So this is an amazing book where they show how they have programmed parents to actually happily send their children that they love very much off to war to be killed.
I've never understood that one either.
Right.
I don't get it.
And they show here they actually ridicule the parents who do it. And yet, behind their backs, of course.
Right.
But how they have programmed the public to actually accept this, and the father, of course, is proud of his son going off to war. It's a manly thing to do when he's sending him off to his death. And so people don't understand how much they're programmed. People are programmed because all of this is coming in. It's coming in from everywhere. It's coming in from the churches. It's coming in from the schools. It's coming in from television, of which people sit in front of for hours every day.
I'll tell you where it's also coming, the movie theaters, the propaganda for violence and war. You're a rock star if you go to war now.
That's right. And that's why I never go to movies. I don't go to movies because I can tell you there is so much programming in the movies. There's so much programming in television. There's programming in the news.
Right.
And so they are constantly programming the public, and they are also assaulting the public with all of this terrible stuff that's going on until people get desensitized. And they don't even think about how it is what we're doing in Iraq and Afghanistan and all of the Sudan and all these other places where we're just slaughtering these people who never did anything